Hi everyone, welcome to Accounting Buddy page, and we are still in the accounting cycle. We are then discussing on journalizing, posting, trial balance, adjusting entries, and now we will discuss the step number 5 of the accounting cycle, and that is the worksheet. The worksheet or the working paper is a columnar sheet used as a tool or a bridge connecting the trial balance and the financial statements. The purpose of the worksheet is to determine the performance or the results of the operation and the financial condition of the business in a speedy manner, even before adjusting and closing entries can be recorded in the general journal. The preparation of the worksheet is optional, meaning to say, pwede siyang gawin, pwede din namang hindi. That is because we can still prepare financial statements out from the data shown in the trial balance. But you know what? Halos lahat ng mga bookkeepers and accountants gumagamit sila ng worksheet because it really helps. Mas napapadali yung work nila. And for you guys, since beginners pa kayo sa accounting, so you should also know how to prepare the worksheet. And this is the columnar sheet that we will be using as a worksheet. So this actually is a 10-column worksheet because it has 10 money columns. And I will be discussing to you the procedures in preparing the 10-column worksheet by using our continuing illustration, the Devil Laundry Services. And I would just like to remind you with this assumption, the end of the accounting period or cut-off period of Devil Laundry Services was on March 31, 2019. Okay, so now we will start preparing our 10-column worksheet. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is to write the heading here at the center of the uppermost portion of the columnar sheet. The heading will consist of the name of the business, which in this case, our illustration, Davao Laundry Services, and then the title of the report, which is worksheet. And then the period covered, which in this case is for the month ended March 31, 2019. So as I said earlier, the cut-off period or the end of the accounting period of Davao Laundry Services is or was March 31, 2019. The next thing that we are going to do is to fill out the column headings, starting off with the account titles. And then the first two money columns is for the unadjusted trial balance. The left column is for the debit, that's why we have DR. And then the right is for the credit, that's why we have CR. And then the next two money columns is for the adjustments. The left is for the debit and then the right is for the credit. The next two columns is for the adjusted trial balance. The left column is for the debit and then the right is for the credit. The next two money columns is for the income statement. The left column is for the debit and then the right is for the credit. And then the last two columns is for the balance sheet. The left is for the debit and then the right is for the credit. For the unadjusted trial balance, what we are going to do is copy as is the trial balance that we previously prepared when we were discussing the step number 3 of the accounting cycle, which is the trial balance. And this is it. So, ito yung ginawa nating trial balance ng Davao Laundry Services when we were discussing the step number 3 of the accounting cycle, which is the trial balance preparation. So, what we're going to do now is that kokopyahin lang natin to dito sa unadjusted trial balance portion ng worksheet. And then, fast forward, eto na, nakopya ko na yung trial balance ng Davao Laundry Services dito sa worksheet. And then, as a reminder, huwag kalimutan ang single ruling pag nagto-total and then the double rule pag balance na yung debit and credit. Let us now move on to the next two columns of the worksheet known as the adjustments. So, we have here the page number 2 of the General Journal of Davao Laundry Services. And in the lower portion are the adjusting entries. So these were the adjusting entries that we previously prepared when we were discussing the step number 4 of the accounting cycle, which is the adjusting entries. So, ang gagawin natin ngayon is that we are going to enter these adjusting entries in the adjustments column of the worksheet. By the way, I am hiding some of the columns of the worksheet in order to emphasize the adjustments column. Okay, so let's now start entering these adjusting entries in the adjustments columns. But before that, we're going to first write the adjustments here in the worksheet. And then for our first adjusting entry, we have debit and collectible account expense of 350 pesos. First thing first, kailangan nating i-check muna yung existing account titles kung meron na bang uncollectible account expense. And since wala, so we need to add another account title and ito nga yung uncollectible account expense. And then the amount is 350 pesos. It's a debit, so dito din natin ilalagay sa debit column ng adjustment. So we have 350. And then don't forget to write letter A. So this is an indication that this is the debit entry for the adjusting entry letter A. Balik naman tayo sa first adjusting entry natin or yung adjusting entry letter A natin. So we have here the credit entry estimated uncollectible account of 350 pesos. So check muna natin yung existing account titles kung meron na bang estimated uncollectible account. So, wala. So, we need to add another account. And ito nga yung estimated and collectible account. So, this is a credit. So, yung amount, ilalagay din natin sa credit. So, we have here 350. And then, don't forget to put letter A. So, this is an indication that this is the credit entry for the adjusting entry letter A. Let's now move on to the adjusting entry letter B. So we have a debit entry of laundry supplies expense, 20,000 pesos. So let's check if there is an existing laundry supplies expense in the account titles here in the worksheet. So there is none. So we need to add a new account, and this is the laundry supplies expense. And then the amount of this adjustment is 20,000 pesos debit. And then don't forget to write letter B. The credit entry of the adjusting entry letter B is laundry supplies, 20,000 pesos. So, check natin sa existing account titles kung meron na bang laundry supplies. And we found this one. So, we have laundry supplies here. So, the laundry supplies is credited by 20,000 pesos. So, we're going to put 20,000 here in the credit column. So, we have here 20,000. And then, don't forget to write letter B. Let us now move on to adjusting entry letter C. So we have a debit entry of depreciation expense at 2,500 pesos. So let's check in the account titles here in the worksheet. So walang depreciation expense. So that would mean kailangan nating mag-add ng new account title, and that is depreciation expense. So the amount of adjustment is 2,500 pesos debit. So we have here in the debit side or debit column, we have 2,500 pesos. And then don't forget to write letter C, since this is adjusting entry letter C. And then the credit entry is accumulated depreciation laundry equipment, 2,500 pesos. So, check natin ngayon sa mga account titles here in the worksheet kung meron na bang accumulated depreciation laundry equipment. And then, wala. So, that would mean kailangan nating mag-add ng new account title, and that would be accumulated depreciation laundry equipment. And then, the amount of the adjustment is 2,500 pesos credit. So, we're going to write 2,500 here in the credit column. So, we have here, and then do not forget to write a letter C because this is adjusting entry letter C. And then let's move on to the last adjusting entry. So we have debit advertising expense 3,000 pesos. So let's check in the account titles here in the worksheet if meron na bang advertising expense. So wala. So we're going to add a new one. So we have advertising expense. The amount of the adjustment is 3,000 pesos debit. So, we're going to write 3,000 in the debit column and then put letter D. And then for the credit, we have accrued advertising expense, 3,000 pesos. Since walang accrued advertising expense here in the account titles and the worksheet, so we're going to add this one. We have accrued advertising expense. The amount is 3,000 pesos credit. So we have here in the credit column. And then don't forget to write letter D. And so we're done entering the adjusting entries in the adjustments column. So the next thing that we're going to do is to total all the debits and all the credits. And as a rule, yung total ng debit must always be equal with the total of the credit. So it should be balanced. And let us now total first the debit. So we have 350 plus 20,000 plus 2,500 plus 3,000. So the total debit is 25,850. And then for our credit, we have 20,000 plus 350 plus 2,500 plus 3,000. So the total of the credit is also 25,850. So balance yung debit and credit natin. And then, don't forget to put a double rule. Ang susunod natin gawin ay ang adjusted trial balance. So here, i-combine lang natin yung unadjusted trial balance at ang adjustments. So let's start with the cash in bank. So the cash in bank has a debit balance of 743,000 under the unadjusted trial balance. And then walang adjustments na nangyayari. So ibig sabihin, ang cash in bank ay mananatiling 743,000 debit. Next is accounts receivable with the unadjusted balance of 35,000 debit. And then walang adjustment, so that would mean accounts receivable will remain at 35,000 debit. Next is laundry supplies. So the unadjusted balance of laundry supplies is 90,000. And then meron tayong 20,000 pesos adjustment here in the credit. So magkaiba yung pwestuhan nila. Yung 90,000 sa unadjusted is nasa debit and then yung 20,000 na adjustment nasa credit. So kailangan natin kunin yung difference nila. So 90,000 less or minus 20,000. So there's a difference of 70,000. And take note that mas malaki yung amount sa debit kaysa credit. Kasi sa debit, we have 90,000. And then sa credit, we only have 20,000. So that would mean yung difference na 70,000, ipopwesto natin siya sa debit. So that's why we have it here, 70,000 under the debit column of the adjusted trial balance. For the laundry equipment, we have this unadjusted balance of 150,000 and then walang adjustments. So laundry equipment will remain at 150,000 debit. Next is notes payable with an adjusted balance of 100,000 credit. And then there is no adjusting entry, so notes payable balance will remain at 100,000 credit. Next, as Santos Capital, we have 850,000 credit. Walang adjustment, so it will remain at 850,000 credit. Next is S. Santos Drawing. We have 10,000 debit, no adjustment, so it will remain at 10,000 debit. Laundry income, we have 80,000 credit, no adjustments, so it will remain at 80,000 credit. Next, salaries expense, we have 10,000, no adjustment, so it will stay at 10,000 debit. Next, we have rent expense at 5,000 debit, no adjustment, so it will remain at 5,000 debit. Next is utilities expense, 12,000 pesos debit, no adjustment, so it will remain at 12,000 debit. Taxes and licenses, 4,000 debit, no adjustment, so it will remain at 4,000 debit. Then interest expense, we have an adjusted balance of 1,000, no adjustment, so interest expense will remain at 1,000 debit. Next, we have uncollectible account expense of 350 debit. So, ang gagawin natin dito is that kukopyahin lang natin to sa adjusted trial balance. Debit siya, so sa debit din natin ilalagay. So, we have 350 debit. Next is estimated uncollectible accounts of 350 credit. Ayan, 350 credit. Next, we have laundry supplies, 20,000 and debit. So, kopyahin natin siya. So, we have here 20,000 debit. Next is depreciation expense, 25 debit. And then, accumulated depreciation equipment, 25 credit. And then followed by advertising expense, 3,000 debit. So, kopyahin natin. Ayan, 3,000 debit. Next is accrued advertising, 3,000 credit. Kopyahin natin. So we have 3,000 credit. Okay, so now the next thing that we're going to do is to total all the debits and total all the credits. And as a rule, the total of the debit must be equal to the total of the credit. So 743,000 plus 35,000 plus 70,000 plus 150,000 plus 10,000 plus another 10,000 plus 5,000 plus 12,000 plus 4,000 plus 1,000 plus 350 plus 20,000 plus 2,500 plus 3,000. So the total of the debit is 1,065,850. Now for the credit, we have 100,000 plus 30,000 plus 850,000 plus 80,000 plus 350 plus 2,500 plus 3,000. So the total of the credit is also 1,065,850. And then don't forget to double rule. Ang susunod natin gawin dito sa worksheet ay ang income statement at balance sheet. So what we're going to do here is that i-extend lang natin yung balances per account title. But we have to classify whether this account title is a nominal account or a real account. If the account is a nominal account, ibig sabihin ng nominal account, that account title is makikita mo sa income statement. That's why we call it nominal account. So again, kapag ka ito ay nominal account, we're going to extend it in the income statement columns. And if it is a real account or permanent account, ibig sabihin, this account title is makikita mo sa balance sheet. So we're going to extend that in the balance sheet column. So here, you should know what are those accounts na makikita mo sa income statement and what are those accounts na makikita mo sa balance sheet. So you need to review your chart of accounts. Okay, so we will now start with a cash in bank with debit balance of 743,000. So cash in bank is a real account or a balance sheet account. So we're going to extend it in the balance sheet account debit. Ayan. Next, we have accounts receivable, 35,000 debit. So accounts receivable is a real or a balance sheet account. So we're going to extend it in the balance sheet account debit column. Next, we have laundry supplies, debit 70,000. So laundry supplies is a real or a balance sheet account. So we're going to forward it in the debit column of the balance sheet account. So we have here 70,000. And then laundry equipment, 150,000 debit. Laundry equipment is a real or a balance sheet account. So we're going to forward it in the balance sheet column debit. We have 150,000. Notes payable, 100,000 credit. Notes payable is a real or a balance sheet account. So we're going to extend it in the balance sheet column credit. We have 100,000. Next is accounts payable, 30,000 credit. So accounts payable is a balance sheet or a real account. So we're going to extend it in the balance sheet column, and that is in the credit side. We have 30,000. Next is S. Santos Capital, 850,000 credit. So capital account is a real or a balance sheet account. So we're going to extend this one and the balance sheet column. So we have here 850,000 credit. Next is S. Santos Drawing, 10,000 debit. So drawing is a real or a balance sheet account. So we're going to extend it in the balance sheet column. So we have here 10,000 debit. Laundry income, 80,000 credit. So obviously, laundry income is a nominal or an income account. So we're going to extend it in the income statement column. So we have here 80,000 here in the income statement column credit. Next is salaries expense, 10,000 debit. So expense is a nominal or an income statement account. So we're going to extend it here in the income statement column. So we have here 10,000 debit. Next is rent expense, 5,000. Again, expense is a nominal or an income statement account. So we're going to extend it here in the income statement column. That's why we have 5,000 debit. Utilities expense, 12,000. So this again is an income statement account. So we're going to extend it here in the income statement column. We have 12,000 debit. Taxes and licenses, 4,000. So this is an income statement account. Next is interest expense, So, expense pa rin. So, that is still a nominal account. We also have uncollectible account expense of 350. So, this is an expense account. So, this will be extended here in the income statement column, debit 350. Next is estimated uncollectible accounts of 350 credit. So this is a contra asset account of accounts receivable. And since accounts receivable is a balance sheet account, so that means that this estimated uncollectible accounts is also a balance sheet account. So it will be forwarded or extended to the balance sheet column. Credit, we have 350. Next is laundry supplies expense, 20,000 debit. So this is an expense account. So this will be extended here in the income statement column, debit. We also have depreciation expense. So still, this is an expense account. So this will be extended here in the income statement column, debit. We have 2,500. Next, we have accumulated depreciation laundry equipment, 2,500 credit. So this is a contra asset account of the of the asset account laundry equipment. And since laundry equipment is a balance sheet account, so that means to say that this accumulated depreciation is also a balance sheet account. So this will be extended to the balance sheet column, credit, 2,500. Lastly, we have accrued advertising of 3,000 credit. So accrued advertising is a liability. So that means to say that this accrued advertising is a balance sheet account, and this will be forwarded here in the balance sheet column. So that's why we have 3,000 here in the balance sheet column, credit. Okay, so what we're going to do next is to total all the debits and credits of each columns. And let's start with the income statement column, debit. So we have 10,000 plus 5,000 plus 12,000 plus 4,000 plus 1,000 plus 350 plus 20,000 plus 2,500 plus 3,000. So the total debit of the income statement is 57,850. For the credit column of our income statement, we only have 80,000. And then for our balance sheet, so let's start with the debit column first. So we have 743,000 plus 35,000 plus 70,000 plus 150,000 plus 10,000. And so the total debit of the balance sheet column is 1,008,000. And then for the credit, we have 100,000 plus 30,000 plus 850,000 plus 350 plus 2,500 plus 3,000. So the total credit of the balance sheet column is 985,850. So if you notice, we have different totals here. So hindi balanse yung debits and credits natin. But don't freak out because meron pa tayong gagawin in order to balance these amounts. And we will start it with the income statement. So the total debit of the income statement is 57,850 and then the credit is 80,000. So the difference between these two amounts is either profit or loss. So there is a profit if the credit is greater than the debit, and there is a loss if the credit is less than the debit. And here in this case, the credit, which is 80,000, is greater than our debit, which is 57,850. So this means to say that we have profit of 22,150. So the 22,150 is written under the debit column in order to balance the income statement. So our profit here is the balancing amount. Now we're going to total it. So we have 57,850 plus 22,150. So our total debit and the income statement is now 80,000. And then our credit is 80,000. And so, balance na yung debit and credit natin with the amount of 80,000. And then, don't forget to double rule. Let's move on to our balance sheet. So, the total debit of our balance sheet is 1,008,000 and then the credit is 985,850. So, if we're going to get the difference, so 1,008,000 minus 985,850, the difference is 22,150. So, this actually refers to the profit. which is 22,150 also. Take note that if we are going to compute for the owner's equity end, one of the components there is the profit or loss. If it is a profit, we're going to add it in the capital, and if it is a loss, we're going to deduct it from the capital. And here, since the 22,150 is a profit, so we're going to add it to the capital. And since the normal balance and then the increased side of the capital is in the credit, so that means to say that the 22,150 is going to be placed in the credit. So we have here 22,150. Now let's total. For the debit column of the balance sheet, we have 1,008,000. And then now for the credit, we have 985,850 plus the profit of 22,150. So the total is also 1,008,000. And so, balansin na yung debit and credit ng ating balance sheet at 1,008,000 pesos. And then, don't forget to put a double rule in the balances. By the way, I would just like to mention that if the result of the operation is loss, wherein the expenses is greater than the income, or the debit is greater than the credit in the income statement column, the amount of the loss is going to be extended in the debit column of the balance sheet in order to show the reduction of capital. Kasi yung capital account, yung normal balance or increase side niya is nasa credit. So in order to show reduction of this capital, so we're going to go for the opposite side, which is the debit. And eto na yung accomplished 10-column worksheet natin. So it's quite a long process, pero kayang-kaya naman. I hope that this discussion video helps you in your understanding about the worksheet preparation. And that's all for now. Thanks for watching.